governance is viewed only through the lens of politics, elections, political parties, and public office. But governance is much more than that. It is about the systems, decisions, and policies that shape our daily experiences. The real question is not just who governs, but how governance improves the quality of life for the people. Effective governance should translate policies from documents and boardrooms into meaningful change in homes, businesses, and communities. This morning, we will be discussing how government policies can become practical solutions that address everyday challenges. The role of citizens, public institutions, the private sector, and the civil society in building a system where governance is measured not by political rhetoric, but by tangible impact. All right, I have my guest in the studio to dissect a beautiful topic we have this morning, but I will not unveil him now. Let's see what his profile looks like. Time to unveil my guest this morning, and the discussion that we'll be having is governance beyond politics, a bridge between government policies and everyday life. Welcome with me, Samuel Obafemi George. Good morning.
Good morning, Chief Kenny. Good to be here. Thank you for having me. It's quite nostalgic. When I was a young teenager growing up in the late 80s, early 90s, every Saturday morning, the whole family would gather around and watch Morning Ride with Dan Ladi Bako. Yeah, 35, 40 years ago. So for me to be sitting here today, quite a challenge. Thank you for having me. I quite appreciate this.
So interesting. I remember so many years ago, also when I had the opportunity roughly about 6, 7, 8 years now, being on this show, like, really? Morning Ride?
Morning Ride.
We thank God, and it's good to have you. Thank you for, in the midst of your busy schedule, obliging us this interview.
My pleasure.
Now, let's really go into the business of the day. Governance, we see, is often viewed through the lens of politics and elections. And, a lot of time, I feel, if you ask me, this is a personal view, Nigerians, some sort of has lost hope in governance. They just want to believe that governance in Nigeria today is all about politics and politicking. Now, in your own view, what does governance beyond politics truly mean, and why should it matter to every citizen?
So, to start with, I wouldn't knock Nigerians on the head for that attitude. We've just done 27 years in this democratic dispensation, which is the longest in the history of our country. But when you look at democracy globally, and we compare it to the Western world, we're still quite young. Today, America is celebrating 250 years of uninterrupted democracy. And we are just 26, 27 years. Yeah. So we're just like 10% of what they've done. So you can't compare, both countries. And that's why I don't see the cup as half empty. I see it as half full. We've come a long way. We're not where we should be, but we're also not where we used to be. So as we progress as a nation, as democracy takes root, deeper, as institutions get stronger, you would see that attitude would change over time. It is changing, but like I said, we're not where we want to be, but we will get there eventually. Election cycles, right now, the way we see democracy is all about elections. Election comes, election goes. Yeah. And we haven't developed to that point whereby we actually see every government as our government. Irrespective of who is in government, there is always something for every citizen. Okay, one party would come and go, another would come and go, a president would come and go, but like they say on the street, soldier go, soldier come, barrack doesn't go anywhere. So irrespective of what happens, governance is a continuum. And for us as citizens, we should always look out to say, okay, you know what does government have to offer me? What can my company, what can my family, what can the society benefit from the lifetime of this government? And when we begin to develop that attitude, then we'll be able to see beyond the political party. We're able to see beyond the next election cycle. Then we'll be able to see, and think long term, which is the difference between mature democracy and our young democracy. But like I said, we're still growing.
An average Nigerian out there, we hear that a lot from the politicians and the stakeholders. We hear that. Would you say that it seems to be as if Nigerians naturally are impatient, or does it seem as if Nigerians are not really seeing the gradual improvement, the step-by-step movement by the government 4 years in, 4 years out? So what would you say about that?
So, I always seize the opportunity to educate Nigerians because I'm a trained political scientist. So I've had the privilege of studying democracies and countries all over the world. And when I make that argument that, we're a young democracy, we're just growing, we're not where we used to be, some people will challenge me and say, no, Obafemi, what do you mean? 4 years is enough to turn around the nation. And I ask them a simple question. Okay, give me an example of one nation that has lifted hundreds of millions or tens of millions of people out of poverty. Give me an example of one nation that have moved from poverty to prosperity in 3 or 4 years. And the answer is no. China, Singapore, because we always like to brandish the example of Singapore, from third world to first world, Lee Kuan Yew this, Lee Kuan Yew did that. And I quickly remind people that Lee Kuan Yew became Prime Minister of Singapore, maybe 1957 or thereabout. And was Prime Minister till 1992. He was there for over 3 decades. So what happened in Singapore didn't happen in one single election cycle. I've also had Nigerians say, no, Obafemi, haven't been to Dubai. Look at what Dubai have done. They're also an oil company like Nigeria, an oil country like Nigeria. See what they've done with oil money, see how they transformed Dubai. And I say, yes, I go to Dubai quite often. What you see in Dubai started in 1974. Dubai didn't get on the global map until 2014. Do the maths. 4 decades. Okay, come to Africa. Look at Rwanda, small Rwanda there. Look at what Kagame is doing. I say, yes. Kagame has been there for over 20 years. He has done 3rd term, 4th term, 5th term. He's on the 6th term. So whichever way you skin it, any country you look at, there is no nation that has developed in 4 years. None. So we as citizens need to come to that reality that Rome is not built in a day. Even even in Nigeria, currently, I mean, some people disagree, but that's my opinion. Lagos is an example of how an economy could grow and should grow. But what we see in Lagos today didn't happen in 4 years. When President Tinubu was governor, he laid the foundation for 8 years. Virtually everything you see in Lagos today were planned within those first 8 years. But I said subsequent governors, and because they all came from the same school of politics, they stuck to the plan. I mean, I hosted some journalists yesterday, and he said, oh, he was on the train, coming to the island. And I said, are you aware that that train that you were on, that was Governor Tinubu that created La Mata, that actually started that project? Governor Fashola came, constructed it, Ambode came, did his bid. Now Governor Solu commissioned it. I said, so that's how a nation grows.
It's a continuum.
It's a continuum.
Okay, let me just come back home. Let's come back home now, looking at this, because we see that, like I say, for Nigerians, since democracy, I have not seen any government that has not been criticized. But it seems this particular administration seemed to get so much more of, maybe it just, the backlash keeps getting more year in and year out. Let's talk about the scorecard of this administration. Looking at this scorecard of this administration, what would you say has been so significant, touching the layman? Because this morning, I wanted to talk to the layman out there, to educate the layman out there, if there is anything to be gotten from the administration. What would you say has been so much significant reaching the layman there, the ordinary citizen on the streets of Nigeria?
So my counsel would be that this current administration, this President Tinubu's government, what this government has done is to lay very solid foundation for prosperity that will last us for decades. Now, the criticism that the government has been getting, it's not new. In school, when we were studying political science, we also studied political culture, as in the culture of the people within a certain geographical space. And for us as Nigerians, there is no government we haven't criticized. When President Buhari was there, we called him all sorts of names. In fact, we called him Boo Boo. We said, oh, you know what, the real Buhari had died. The one there is one Boo Boo from Sudan. There was nothing we did not say. When President Jonathan was there, we called him all sorts of names, drunkard and this, doesn't know what he's doing. When Yaradua was there, we called him Baba Goslow. When President Obasanjo was there, we called him a dictator. And if you trace it back to when we started the very first elective election, 1951, we've always been criticizing government. But what I want people to realize is that some policies don't speak in the life of that administration. It's when they are done, we now look back, and for decades we keep praising them. And I say to people, I beat my chest and I tell them, I said, God will keep all of us alive.
Amen.
I said, in 10 years' time, we will sit down and we'll look back and be like, oh my God, we had an amazing president. That might not be the story today because of the temporary pain that we are going through. And you see, transition is painful. Restructuring is painful. There's always a pain. Like they say, no pain, no gain.
No gain.
And like we say in motivational classes, you pay now, you play later. You play now, you pay later. Whichever way you will pay. We are paying the price for a great country. The level of infrastructural development that we are seeing in Nigeria today, it is unprecedented. And you see, there is no economic growth without infrastructure. No nation has grown, has become industrialized without infrastructure. And let me give you an example. Let me take China as an example, which is, the country all of us, refer to, because you know what? They've lifted 800 million people out of poverty. How did they do it? And I want to encourage my viewers to look for a report so that they would say, hey, Mr. Obafemi George came, that guest that Chief Kenny brought that just came to bamboozle us. No, there's a report available online that was published by World Economic Forum. This was June last year. And the title of that report is How China Became Rich, the 40-year journey of China. 1979, China sat down and said, you know what, we don't want to be a poor country. And they decided to get out of poverty. And three things, apart from so many other things they did, three core things that they did. Number one, they created what I call special economic zones, which is like our own free trade zone.
Ooh.
So, secondly, they began to invest massively in road infrastructure. Like I said, you cannot industrialize without infrastructure. As at 1979, when China began to do this, the third thing they began to do was to invest massively in tertiary education. And those three things are the things that this current administration is doing. But China did not see the result immediately. As at 1979, when they began to do those three things, their GDP, the size of the economy, was 279 billion US dollars. But they began to build roads, they began to build railway tracks, they began to build airports, seaports, they began to invest in universities. 10 years after, their GDP doubled. As at 1989, the GDP of China grew to 349 billion US dollars. 20 years after, they crossed the $1 trillion threshold. 30 years after, they became a $5 trillion economy. Today, China is a $44 trillion economy. But they didn't get there overnight. What they did is what we had. That was why when President Tinubu, when he was governor of Lagos State, when he created this Lekki Free Trade Zone, what did he do? He went to China, got Chinese partners to say, you know what, you have done it. It succeeded in China. I want to do it in Lagos. Okay. Come and partner with us. Okay. And look at that story today. Okay. I remember vividly well when Lekki Free Trade Zone was established, 2006. I'm a Lagosian. The indigenes of Ibeju came out with placards and they were protesting that, oh, Governor Tinubu have stolen their land. He has taken their ancestral land.
I remember that.
That, oh, Free Trade Zone is a fraud. It's a scam. Because he's going out of office. I mean, it's a retirement package for him. There was nothing they does. As a matter of fact, Ibeju began to vote against the ruling party in Lagos from 2007. If you go and check election results, 2007, 2011, 2015, they went into opposition because of Lekki Free Trade Zone. It was after 2015 that they began to see that, oh my God, this is actually real. Indorama came, Kellogg's came, factories started popping up, then Dangote refinery came, then they saw the Lekki deep sea port being constructed. By 2019, they made a U-turn. And look at the impact it made in their lives. A plot of land that they were selling for 300,000 naira in 2006. Today, those same money are selling the same plot, 100 million. Now they are billionaires, driving SUV, sending their kids abroad because of a visionary governor who brought in infrastructural development that has changed the community. And that is what is going to happen to us with what we're seeing across the country.
Okay. Let's come back to the Gen Zs. Let's come back to their life, because we know that they own today's social media world and they make the most noise. So let's come back to quality of education in Nigeria. Now, what is this administration doing to improve access to quality education, strengthen public institutions, and better prepare Nigerians for the future? Because I tell you, I have a Gen Z, I have a boy in his mid-20s at home. He would say, "Mommy, they're not in there." Talk to these Gen Zs, because they feel that they seem not to see. Let's start from education. What's this administration doing?
Okay, to start with, let me correct an error out there, because I've sat down with some Gen Zs. Some have attacked me online that, Mr. George, there are 20 million out of school children. What is President Tinubu doing with 20
That's
million?
their slang.
and I take out time. I don't get offended, and I take out time and I explain to them. I said, listen, have you actually read that UNICEF report? Almost none of them. So I encourage them that to start with, go and read that report. That 20 million out of school, that report says about 10.4 million are between the ages of 4 and 10, primary school going age. Now, constitutionally, primary school is the responsibility of the local government. That same report says the remaining 9-point-something million, 8-point-something million are between the ages of 10 and 14 years old, secondary school going age. Now, secondary school is the responsibility of the state government. So let's park that aside. Then what is the responsibility of President Tinubu in education? Tertiary institution. That is the responsibility of the president. Now the question is, what has he done? Because you see, 70% of our population, it's the youth, and there's no future without education. This administration created NEL Fund.
Okay. Prior
to now, the last time we had a sincere, honest scholarship system in Nigeria was in the 70s. After President Obasanjo left in 1979, there was no scholarship system. There was no transparent scholarship whereby the son of anybody can just walk in and get a scholarship. Until this administration created it, because the president knows that there's no future without education. NELFON gives scholarship. You don't need to, they don't care whether you're APC or PDP or NDC or whatever, whether you're Igbo, Hausa or Yoruba. It's an online application. Once you go online, you put in your details and they confirm the interface with your school that your admission is genuine, your matric genuine. They pay your school fees directly to the school. And they will give you a stipend of 25,000 naira on a monthly basis, so that so that even our girls don't get to do what they shouldn't do just to stay at school. That program was launched early last year. In just a period of 15 months, over 1.5 million students have been enrolled. That's a great impact. Almost 300 billion naira already disbursed in an educational system. Secondly, I just saw a report by Times Higher Education World University Ranking. For quite a while, public schools have not made it to that ranking. It's Covenant University have been the only university in Nigeria that have made that ranking maybe the past 4 or 5 years. But guess what? This year, the 2026 report, 24 public universities made it to that ranking. As a matter of fact, University of Lagos and University of Ibadan displaced Covenant University as the top ranked universities in Nigeria. Now, that's not a coincidence. That's because this government is making investment in educational system, especially tertiary education. So the quality, the glory of our institutions is gradually being restored. And that's why we now have public universities making it to that ranking. It's a global ranking. So this is not government trying to, do some PR stunts. And for you to make it to that ranking, because that ranking is based on subject. For instance, for your low degree to be ranked, that means that your lecturer must have published at least 100 publications. For your engineering faculty to have been ranked, they must have published at least 500 publications, globally accepted. Which means that this government is making money available for our lecturers to do research, which wasn't there before. So that gives you the confidence that, wait a minute, our school certificates that have lost value internationally, what that now means is that our students that will graduate from Unilag, from UI, can go outside of the country and begin to brand those certificates again. Secondly, maybe our youths have forgotten. I schooled in Nigeria. I went to LASU for my first degree. I spent 5.5 years for a 4-year program. Not because I was failing.
You can say that.
ASU strike! This is the first time since 1988 that in the life of an administration we've not experienced ASU strike. So which means our Gen Z, our young ones that gained admission in 2023 for a 4-year program, they will graduate 2027. Yeah. This has not happened in almost 40 years. And it just didn't fall on our laps. If you go and watch, there's a video that trended not too long ago when the president was campaigning that he said, if you vote me in, there will be no ASU strike. It's because efforts are being made, lecturers are being engaged, money is being made available for research. Like 14 schools now are off grid. So through the REA, they've created, independent power project for them that is powering the schools.
Okay, thank you so much. I have limited time and I want to cover a lot of things. Let's move from education to job creation, because so many times you see people out there with so many degrees without job. So all of these reforms, how is it translating into entrepreneurship skills? How is it translating into job creation? Because which is very, very important for Nigerians. What programs or initiatives have been introduced to create opportunities for young people, to become entrepreneurs and to do small businesses or even be gainfully employed?
So, two sides, creating jobs and starting businesses. Our youth, I love our youth, our Gen Zs, quite entrepreneurial, and very bold, very daring. There are so many government policies out there that has assisted them to get a head start in life. And, so many. The Ministry of Communications and Digital Economy started a program 3 years ago called 3MTT, 3 million tech program, whereby they want to train 3 million youths, give them technical skills in ICT, in digital economy, because in this age of artificial intelligence, okay, and they've trained thousands of youths that have benefited from that program. That program is supported by MTN, supported by Airtel, supported by European Union.
All this is your brand. You will pay for the advert. Look at that's just why
just to give them the basic skills so that they are not stranded in life. Now, when they get those skills, their government also have different programs that gives them, seed capital. The MSMEs gives grants from 50,000 up to 5 million naira. The Bank of Industry have different programs. There's one that they call GLOW, guaranteed loan for women. That's targeted at women who have ideas, or you need seed capital. They give up to 10 million. As a matter of fact, if you scale up and they see that you have a system in place, you can actually access up to 100,000 US dollars.
Let me hold your thoughts there a little bit and ask you. A lot of people, I've seen people say that all of these, they are not accessible. We're in a country where before you can access something good, you need to know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody. Or when you talk about all of those loans and all of that, they tell you to go and look for where they buried your mother, your great-great-grandmother, as and all of that, things that are almost unimaginable for someone that's just started and needs to grow. So how realistic are all of this?
So, as a matter of fact, for the ones that target the nano SMEs, most of them are actually grants, not even loan.
Oh.
Yes, most of them are grants, not even loans. And I say to people, I'll give you an example. A journalist was in my office yesterday, and we were discussing NEL Fund.
Okay.
And he said, "Oh, Mr. George, someone said they applied for NEL Fund, and they told them that it's only meant for indigent students." And I said, "Who is that person?" And I opened my phone and I showed him my chat with the finance director of NEL Fund. And I said, let's not get carried away with the negative news we see on social media. I said, right now, as you are sitting in my office, you can open your phone, just Google NEL Fund, and go online and apply. Oftentimes, you're a journalist, so you know that bad news travels faster than good news.
Exactly.
So, what we found ourselves is that there's been a lot of bad news out there, and nobody takes our time to even, let me even go and apply, let me even try, let me even Google. We just hear those things on social media and just run with it and just say, oh, I couldn't access it. It's not true. If you make an attempt, most of them are available. As a matter of fact, one of the things that this administration has done is to make sure that irrespective of who you are, irrespective of your political or tribal lineage, those things are accessible to you regardless of your tribal or political identity. So I challenge that, Google is your friend. Just go online. Google, get on the website. If you now encounter something, then put it out there. Call them out. But I haven't seen that. And I give you a class example. This NEL Fund example also. About 2 months ago, some people came online and said, oh, we are students of Laddo Calcutta University. We applied for NEL Fund. NEL Fund did not approve it. And the MD of NEL Fund, the DG, had to come out and show them proof that, yes, you applied, you uploaded your details, but your school that was meant to provide certain information back end, they haven't provided it. The Laddo Calcutta University now came out and said, oh, it will be rectified and those details will be uploaded so that NEL Fund can complete the application on their own part. So you can imagine, that kind of news.
So it's a process. It's a process. It's all. It's not just the student, applying the school also has to be involved so that, this, what we can call it due diligence, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right. Okay, because I have to go just in 1 minute. I see that you've been saying so much about what you feel that this administration has done. Now, tell me in 1 minute before I let you go, what you feel that this administration can still do better. Or would you tell me that you give the administration 100%? Or do you think that, okay, this train that is moving so well, no hiccups, no traffic, no nothing? Talk to me. What do you think that can still be done better? Or what do you, because Nigerians are eager to see. There's so much, Nigerians, so much happening out there. At least a little bit to have a feel of, okay, this administration is doing this.
So I'll tell you my very honest opinion. I think the gap between this administration and Nigerians has actually been the media.
Oh.
What I mean by the media, not the government's media, I'm talking about mainstream media. Like outfit like this.
Yeah.
And that's why you are called fourth estate of the realm.
Yeah.
In other words, you also have a role to play. This government has done a lot. The government is doing a lot. But the media also isn't projecting much of what's being done. But I like what the government is doing right now. In the past 2 months, I saw that they took about 50 media houses, 75 journalists, took them on a media tour to Southeast. Now, you know what? Come and see for yourself what we are doing. They've also taken them to Northwest, which is very good, so that Nigerians can see what is being done in their backyard. Also, I want to appeal to our young ones on social media that let's verify what we see on social media. I had a terrible experience on a breakfast show like this on a major TV station. The anchor guy, obviously, belongs to
a Gen Z.
A Gen Z. That belongs to another political. And they just flashed a video and said, "Mr. George, look at this video." And on that video, there was a woman who was standing in front of a building and said, "Oh, this is INEC office in Port Harcourt. Look at President Tinubu's billboard. Look at renewed hope buses inside INEC office." So the anchor said, "Mr. George, what do you have to say to this? This is what we're talking about." But my time was up, so I couldn't respond. I said, "Well, I'll investigate." I stepped out. I was still at the reception of the TV station, and I just fact-checked INEC office in Port Harcourt. It wasn't true. It was a fake video. And in fact, INEC had already put out a publication that there's a video trending that's not out, and they put the picture of INEC office in Port Harcourt. So I sent it to the producer, and I said, "You've just misled thousands, possibly millions of Nigerians on a national TV."
Yeah.
So that's my encouragement. When we see things online, these days everybody wants to trend, everybody wants to gain traction, everybody wants to direct traffic to their pages. So, and with AI, you can generate anything. I can change what you're wearing to blue or purple, and put my cap on your head and just twist the story. So we need to be cautious. We need to interrogate whatever we see. In closing, I read a report this year, Global Electoral Integrity Report 2025. They actually surveyed democracies all over the world, elections, and they realized that social media is actually a big challenge to democracy in the age we live in. So we need to be careful.
We need to be careful. Thank you very much. It's been beautiful discussion with Mr. Samuel Obafemi George, and the discussion has been about governance beyond politics, a bridge between the government policies and the everyday life. I'm sure I'm going to bring you here some other time. Let's talk about this more, because we need to hear from the mainstream media so much about all of this that is happening other than the social media. Thank you so much for coming in.
My
this
pleasure.
morning.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, we will go on a short break. When we return, my next guest will be in the studio with me. Don't go anywhere. Stay with us. We'll be right back.